Hey, Richard here from the Villa Park podcast, just recording a match preview for Chris and part of his channel, previewing the Tottenham Hotspur versus Aston Villa game coming up in the Premier League on Sunday. And he's asked me to answer a few questions from an Aston Villa perspective and preview the game and give my thoughts on how Tottenham are getting on and how they may have impressed me or where I think they might need to improve, and ahead of this game in what is likely to be a real humdinger of a battle between two sides that like to attack, keep their principles and like to score goals. So in terms of Villa's season so far, I think anyone would tell you it's been absolutely fantastic. We're sitting fourth in the table, level on points with your big rivals, Arsenal. We're top of the Champions League phase, which is incredible. 3 wins from 3, including beating Bayern Munich. 0 goals conceded. So in that respect, you can't argue with the start of the season that we've had. There have been one or two kind of missed opportunities, I would say, not holding on to the victory against Bournemouth, conceding a last-minute goal, last-minute equaliser, drawing against Ipswich away from home. Maybe we had one eye on the Bayern Munich game, and then probably drawing 0-0 against Manchester United. You obviously take one or two of those as games as draws, but I would have liked to have seen us win one of those games at least, because that would have put us clear in third position with other teams around that position faltering, including your own side that have maybe faltered in a few games that you believe you should have won as well. So I guess that is always the factor with football, and there's always games that you'll pick up points in that you shouldn't have, and there'll be games that you should pick up points in that you don't. So I would say a fantastic start to the season, although it could have been even better. And then I guess tinged with a little bit of disappointment recently, going out in the Carabao Cup to Crystal Palace with a side that was probably good enough to at least get the victory or at least take a draw to go to penalties. But we didn't really perform in that second half in particular. And the substitutions, I think, clearly showed that Unai Emery had priorities elsewhere. But as a Villa supporter, I think many supporters want to see us progress in the cups and even win some silverware, because as much as we are high up in the league, as much as we are doing well in the Champions League, it isn't likely that we're going to win either of those competitions. Fantastic performances under Emery. I think it's been up and up and up since Unai Emery's taken over, and we're adding to our squad, adding to the way that we play. We're becoming a real top side, and we're becoming a real respected side. So I couldn't be happier about the performances under Emery, and it's 2 years since he came in, which is just incredible. And the ride we've been on, the journey we've been on as Aston Villa fans, is absolutely phenomenal. In terms of aims this season, I think we can really push for third spot if we can keep that consistency, and possibly even push to, say, quarterfinals of the Champions League. I think we've put ourselves in a good position to get through, even through in the top 8, so straight through to that last 16. And then it depends who you get in that round, But I think quarterfinals and possibly even challenging for third position. But I would certainly take finishing in the top 4 spot, and maybe even fifth gets Champions League football. So for me, that would be an aim. That's what I would expect. But I would really like us to push for maybe third spot in a quarterfinal of the Champions League. In terms of Tottenham, I think they play a really attractive brand of football. I like what Ange Postecoglou has done to the team. I do feel that sometimes that can get exposed. If you've only got one way of playing, it's very risky to keep that style going, and it can leave fans a little bit disillusioned if you start to lose games. And you have to keep the players with you all the time. You have to be really strong in your thought process, and that can be a little bit of a danger. But I think in terms of the way you play football, what he expects from the players, the intensity that you guys play at, I think it's tremendous. And you're going to be in for a really interesting ride under Ange Postecoglou. I do fancy to pick up some silverware this season in one of the domestic cups, but you've got to cut out that inconsistency and those results that you drop off, because that's going to stop you from finishing in the top 4. So yes, you are in the race for that top 4, absolutely, but you need to cut out those inconsistencies and dropping points in games that you probably should win, or teams that will stay and hang in the game and manage to pick up a point or pick up a win when maybe you should have put the chances away to get that victory. But overall, I would say you guys should be really happy with Postecoglou, and you keep and persevere with him. I guess even if that trophy eludes you for this season, if you can continue to improve, continue to play good football, I think you've got to stick with the manager. In terms of the two games last season, I thought they were really good games. I thought away from home, Villa got a really good result at your place, 2-1 victory. Ollie Watkins getting the winner. Again, we managed to stay in the game after you put an onslaught onto us for a good 30 to 40 minutes. And then once we got through that, I thought Aston Villa were the stronger team, particularly in that second half, and definitely deserved the win. When you guys came to our place, you definitely got your own back with an absolute thrashing, 4-0, I believe. And it was just a terrible performance from Aston Villa. I don't really know why we tried to play defensive, and we didn't really threaten you at all. And you guys, in that second half, really just ran away with the game. So Villa were in the middle of probably a bit of a difficult patch in terms of the squad and keeping the squad healthy and right. And we were trying to balance up Europe, trying to keep pushing for that Champions League place. And you caught us on a bit of an off day and really played well. So yes, those two games were kind of a bit of a contrast, really. And I expect on any day, Aston Villa could come and beat you. Tottenham could come and beat us. So it's a really up and down game, really topsy-turvy game. In terms of memory of this fixture, I was thinking about this. I really obviously enjoyed last season's away victory because it was a game that I didn't think we would win. And then going back a little bit further, I remember Christian Benteke scoring a great header that got us a 1-0 victory that kind of kept us in the Premier League at that point under Tim Sherwood. So those would be kind of some decent memories for me. The game where we won 2-1, where Douglas Luiz scored the free kick a couple of seasons ago, that kind of cemented us to finish above you in that race for the Conference League spot. So those are some kind of good memories, but particularly that Benteke header, because that really did keep us in the division. But there aren't many really good memories of Aston Villa against Tottenham from a Villa perspective. In terms of the players that I fear, I think you've got some really good players. Destiny Udogie on that and Pedro Porro as fullbacks. I think Son obviously always plays well against us. Kulusevski generally plays well against Aston Villa. Brennan Johnson's in some really good form, and James Maddison always likes to do well against Villa. So you've got plenty of dangerous players for Aston Villa to cope with, although we have our own dangers that you might have to cope with as well. Getting into that starting 11, I think there's probably quite a few. I haven't really thought about this, but if I was to do a combined 11, I'd probably say your fullbacks, Porro and Udogie. I think they're very strong. I think Luca Dean and Ian Matson are very good as well, but you're looking at definitely Porro gets in. I'd say Udogie gets in. I think Van der Ven's a really good player, although he's missing tomorrow. Although I think Konsa and Pau Torres are a fantastic centre-back partnership for us. Our goalkeeper's obviously phenomenal. In midfield, I think Maddison would probably get in there somewhere. I think he's a really good player. Yuri Tielemans has been phenomenal for us this season. But maybe a Bissouma potentially in terms of that defensive midfield position. Kamara's coming back to fitness. Onana is really good, but he's been a little bit in and out. Ollie Watkins, I would say, is better than Solanke. I think your wide men, probably Son certainly gets in ahead of Leon Bailey. Brennan Johnson and Leon Bailey are kind of quite similar, to be honest, in the way that they play. Kulusevski, I think, is a very good player, so there'd be an argument for him as well. So I think there's a few players that get into the Villa side, but I do think we're very evenly matched. I think if you're looking at Morgan Rogers, he's fantastic. Jacob Ramsey's fantastic as well. And then Yuri Tielemans, who's probably up there with one of the best centre midfielders on form in the Premier League at the moment. So I think we both have players that would complement each other. I'm expecting a really exciting game, attacking game. And I do think that we're looking at probably a Villa lineup of Martinez in goal. I'd probably say Matty Cash at right back because he didn't play in midweek. Ezri Konsa, Pau Torres at centre back, Luca Dean at left back, back to kind of the standard back five. And then we're looking at Yuri Tielemans and Amadou Onana in the midfield. Then probably Morgan Rogers with John McGinn ahead of him. And then it's a bit more of a difficult one, but I would probably still say you would start with Leon Bailey and Ollie Watkins up front. That being said, he may go with Jacob Ramsey and Ollie Watkins up front. Probably do that. Bailey will be on the bench, so it'll be Watkins up front. Then it'll be John McGinn, Morgan Rogers, and Jacob Ramsey are kind of players in behind Ollie Watkins. So we've got a strong side, and I am going to say I think it will be an entertaining draw. I think it's going to be 2-2, and it's going to be a really good game. And both teams will play some really exciting football. And I'll go for Watkins and John Duran to get the goals for Aston Villa. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching me. And if you want to follow me at Villa Park Podcast, please do subscribe. We're on the road to 5K. Thank you for watching and enjoy.